And it's just part of the journey. Sometimes you have to go slow. Sometimes you're going to be in standstill mode and you have to be in pause. And you're not going to be moving. And sometimes you're going to be going very fast out here. But the thing about the journey, the thing about the process, you got to trust it. You can't rush it. Because some of the expectations, some of the results we think we should have achieved, sometimes it takes 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get. You expected to be here at this age, and sometimes it didn't happen like you thought it would. Sometimes you had to settle for less and you had to take these lower jobs. You had to stop going to school and you had to go to the community college after you couldn't afford the university, whatever it might be. Out here in this life, you got to give yourself some grace out here for the mistakes that you're going to make out here in life. You got to be at peace out here working that little mediocre job, because you got to look at that as a stepping stone. I know you got huge goals. You see yourself as a CEO. You see yourself as the big boss. You see yourself with opening all these businesses out here. But sometimes it don't work out as we think. Sometimes these expectations can have you sitting back because you're thinking perfect all the time. You're thinking 100%. You're thinking not missing a thing. And sometimes these results can have us standing still. It can leave you depressed. It can leave you sad, leaving you worried that you're not going to get to where you need to be. Get you worried thinking just because you graduated college, you didn't get the career that you got yet. You thinking you should have been married at 40 already and you going on 45 now. You got to slow down and you got to give yourself some grace for not being perfect out here. You had a hard life, perhaps. You had some shortcomings out here. And if you didn't have a hard life, everything was going your way, but this is on God's time when you go get these things out here. You putting too much pressure on yourself. Sometimes we put too much pressure on others with these expectations and results out here. I know you're good. I know you're a great person, but you had some people in your life that taught you a lesson about things. You had some relationships where they weren't bad and they were abusive, and it just wasn't good people you were around. You was in that town living for 10 years and you had to go to the other side of the world to, live your life, get a new identity, get a new purpose. You had to start over 2, 3 times out here. You can't rush God's plan out here. God put you on that journey just for you out here. And I know when people say settle for less, that seems like you dimming your light or something. You're not. You got a family to feed. You got a wife. You got a husband. You can't just sit back there and just stop working. You had to take that mediocre job, that lower paying job. Your resume is way over applied for that. But sometimes you got to work those jobs right there. And those jobs was a stepping stone. And you meeting people over here in this job right here who's giving you advice. You learn from people over here who's setting you up for your next spot. That's why you have to be at peace with not being perfect out here, because it's part of the journey. Sometimes when we're not at peace, we start getting timid now. We start getting angry. You see that fear seeping in, and now you're just sitting down now. Now you're just on the sideline not doing nothing because expectations got you messed up. You sitting here thinking 1 million views and $1 million, and I should have been head this. I should be the boss by now. I should be, having employees under me, and not yet, at least. You got to go with the journey. You got to go with God's plan. This is God's speed where he got us out here. He's setting you up for the long run. And you thinking, I got to get it now. If it don't happen next year, it ain't going to ever happen. If I don't get married by this time, I'm never going to get married. You going against God's plan, and you looking at your plan now. You looking at these expectations for you. And sometimes we put pressure on too many people out here. This could be your children out here. This could be your brother, your sister, your spouse, You got too many expectations out here of people being perfect out here. You put pressure on yourself and others to have these high results out here, and sometimes they're not moving as fast as you think they should move. You're not moving as fast as you think you should move. You thought because you graduated college on time, you got your master's degree, you got your doctorate degree, that you was going to be the first one to shoot up to the chain of the company. You thought you would have had your own business by now, and you would have been head employees, and you'd have been doing your thing. But you can't go against God's plan, because the mistakes out here that we make out here, sometimes they hinder it. Sometimes God got a plan for you to take it bigger than what you thought. God sometimes take your plan of what you thought and take it way bigger than what you thought. So that's why he delayed you for 15 years. He didn't want you forcing no relationship on this lady, forcing no relationship on this man, and you just joining any damn relationship. He set you up for the long run. And you got to be ready for the long run. You can't get timid out here now and scared, and now all of a sudden you tipping toeing out here. You know, you was working every day on your goals. You know, you was working every day posting. You was working every day trying to get your business set up. But the results got you messed up out here. The expectations got you fucked up, and when you like, I'm done. I'm doing it. You doing it once every 2 months now. You barely working on it. You letting your dreams go away because of the results. You trying to be perfect. Ain't no such thing as being perfect. Take those lumps, take those bruises, take those, mistakes and build from those, because that's what it's setting you up for. And settling for less is a great thing. Sometimes less is more. Like I said, you building yourself up for this. When we say less is more, settling for less is good. We're not telling you just to join any relationship and dim your life and, go back to that old relationship where you got played and you got abused at. No, we telling you to slow down. Use this as a stepping stone. Use that time where you ain't in a relationship to build yourself up out here, The less people around you, the more then, Now you will build yourself up for the long run so you can be at more peace with yourself. But all that being perfect out here, it just ain't gonna happen out here. Sometimes it's happened too much with the young people out here. Sometimes you sitting out here at 25, 30 years old, and you think you should have stuff that people 50 and 60 years old don't even get. You living your life too fast out here. You trying to go too fast to get things that it takes a while. You can't be a doctor in 2 years. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Slow down. Life got a speed limit. You don't want to exceed it. A lot of people grew up too fast because they had to. But a lot of people grew up too fast because they wanted to rush things and they had to fall back. And some of these mistakes, people went to prison. They got addictions from. They got, children, out of wedlock, and, children that they can't take care of because they was trying to live too fast. They thought they knew all the knowledge up here. They thought they knew it all and they had it all, and they was running their life too quick. They wasn't slowing down. They wanted things too quick. They didn't take God plan and slow down. They took man plan and just ran with it. And that's the difference when you running with God plan and man plan. You running with man plan, now you forcing relationships. Now you forcing yourself to go over here at companies and forcing yourself with people who don't want to deal with you, who don't like you. But you just looking at it as money. I'm getting money. I'm getting money. I'm getting money from them at least. And then you lose everything you got. Then that fall down. Or that was just for a short term and now it's all over. You better go with man plan. You gonna lose. When you go with God plan, you will win out here and you will be at more peace, But you ain't gonna be perfect out here. You're not gonna make no mistakes out here. You're gonna get some learning lessons out here that's gonna help you and go get you on your way out here. So my people, be at peace out here with not being perfect, without getting everything you need when you think you should need it. Sometimes you gotta take that little starter home. Then I know you had a dream home that had 8 bedrooms and you worked hard for it and you think you will get it. Take that little starter home that God blessed you with and live in there. Take care of that as with that mansion that you about to move into 10 years from now. God's setting you up for the long run. So be at peace out here, people. That's all I got. Motivation comes in many forms. Lamborghini Lamar.